Hi peeps, so it's day 3, so that means it's chapter 3. So just before we start, there's not much happened, there's still going crazy in Spain and other places. The UK had their biggest rise, it's not great, but anyway, we'll try and stay sane. Now just to let you know, I did actually mention it at one stage that the book isn't complete. And by that I mean it's still got another 40,000 words to write on it. And what I'm reading to you at the moment has not been proofed. So sometimes I don't always type the way it should be typed, or it could be grammatically wrong and I'm just reading it here sometimes. So it might sound like an idiot, and I am an idiot to be fair, but as I said, it's not been proved. Anyone that wants to do writing, there's a fabulous software you can download called Grammarly. It's absolutely brilliant, and it goes through your work and anything that's wrong, not just spelling and things like that, but it's phrases, sentences, punctuation. It's absolutely brilliant. You can get it free for about a month. I'm not getting anything from Grammarly for this, by the way. I'm just mentioning it. If anyone wants to do a bit of writing. Excuse me. And you can pay then, it's a small amount. I can't remember exactly. I paid a month, and it means I can continually use it. So yesterday I gave you a big hint. 4 fellas, Scousers, that's from Liverpool for those who don't know. One was called John, one was called Paul, one was called George, and one was called Ringo. Ringo, yeah, I know. So the song is Hey Jude. And I'll start. Excuse me. And again, it's a phlegmy cough, so please don't get worried about it. So, who knew at some stage in my life I would type those immortal names, Lennon and McCartney? Now, this book will consist of approximately 70,000 words. And to be fair, I could have cheated on this song by putting in a couple of thousand na-na-nas. But hey-ho. Firstly, the record states Lennon and McCartney as the writers, but Paul actually wrote this on his own. And there were times that John Lennon wrote songs on his own, but it always went down as Lennon and McCartney. Paul McCartney, sorry, I'm just changing his name. Paul McCartney wrote this as Hey Jules, a song meant to comfort John Lennon's 5-year-old son Julian, as his parents were getting a divorce. He changed the title because he knew it would be difficult on John. The change to Jude was inspired by the character Judd in the musical Oklahoma. McCartney loves show tunes. On introducing the song to Lennon, McCartney assured him he would fix the line, "The movement you need is on your shoulder," reasoning that it was an expression that just didn't make sense. But Lennon replied, I'm not going to do any accents. Lennon replied, "You won't, you know. That's the best line in the song," and so it remained. The Beatles recorded 4 takes of Hey Jude and chose the first one as the master. You might notice that the percussion was absent for the first 50 seconds of the song. Excuse me again. This was not a production idea. It was just that Ringo Starr was desperate for the loo, and he slipped out of the studio and visited the John, and he was a bit late when he managed to sneak back in. And as I say, the percussions then started some 50 seconds late. The July 30th rehearsals were being filmed for a documentary called Music. In the film, only 3 of the Beatles are seen to be performing. George Harrison remained in the studio control room with George Martin. This was thought to be due to a disagreement he had with McCartney over the lead guitar for the song. According to the founder of Trident Studios, Norman Sheffield, where the song was recorded, there was an uneasy atmosphere between the members of the orchestral party hired to play the arrangement. They were looking down their noses at the Beatles, not considering them to be true musicians. Sheffield recalls McCartney going into the studio and saying, "Do you guys want to get fucking paid?" Unpleased with the orchestra's performance, McCartney went into the studio, stood up on the grand piano and proceeded to conduct the orchestra until he was satisfied with the arrangements. The Beatles then asked the orchestra if they would clap their hands and sing along to the refrain in the coda. That's the la 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 bits. Negotiations started and all the orchestra except for one member agreed on doubling his fee for the day. The abstainer reportedly said, "I'm not going to clap my bloody hands for Paul McCartney." Oh, what an idiot he was. In 1987, Julian Lennon ran into Paul McCartney in New York City when they were staying in the same hotel and finally heard Paul telling the story of the song firsthand. He admitted to Paul that growing up, he always felt closer to him than his own father. Paul told him he'd been thinking about the circumstances, about what he was going through and what he'd have to go through. Paul and Julian used to hang out quite a bit more than Julian did with his own father. There seemed to be far more pictures of him and Paul playing at that age than himself and his own dad. Julian felt his father despised him because of their mother Cynthia, as he would tell Julian how Yoko was the first woman he truly loved. He said it surprised him whenever he heard the song. "It's strange to think someone had written a song about you. It still touches me." I got real phlegmy today, so I apologise. An interesting nerd fact. If it wasn't for Richard Harris, this song may never have been released as a single. Up until then, most songs played on radio were between 2 minutes 30 seconds and 3 minutes 30 seconds. The length was mainly dictated by the American radio stations, whose main income was derived from advertising. So the shorter the records, the more frequent the adverts. Makes sense. There wasn't such consideration in the UK, as the main station at the time, BBC Radio 1, founded in 1967, did not and still does not run ads. Alan Klein, manager of Apple Records, a label set up by the Beatles in 1968, would never have considered releasing Hey Jude if it hadn't been for the release of MacArthur Park by Richard Harris. Its running time was 7 minutes and 21 seconds. It was released on January the 6th, 1968, some 8 months before Hey Jude, which was released in August 1968. Hey Jude sold over 9 million copies, hitting the number 1 spot in 11 countries, spending 2 weeks at the top of the UK charts, and even longer, 9 weeks at the top of the American charts. Another interesting fact, Hey Jude remained the longest number 1 hit for 25 years, and it was surpassed by, anyone know? Do you want to Google it? Do you want to look it up? Or I can just tell you. It was Meatloaf. I would do anything for love, brackets, but I wouldn't do that, close brackets, which ran for 7 minutes and 52 seconds. Another interesting nerd fact. Paul McCartney sang the song at the end of the opening ceremony for the 2012 Olympics. There you go. See? In the book, I actually have a rating system where I put my rating and then there's a little space where you can put your rating. And it's a mark out of 10. And this was an easy one for me because this song, Hey Jude, 10 out of 10. Yes. Anyway, I won't keep you long today, and that's it. So tomorrow, let me see. I'll see what's coming up tomorrow. Oh, yes. Everyone knows it. Give you a clue. What can I give you a clue on? In New Orleans, yeah. It's in the first line. So we'll go through that tomorrow and see where that came from. So take care, and I'll talk to you then. Bye-bye.